brain about how the computers maybe can do these things in the future, maybe not possible at all.
Replace us.
Yeah.
Yes, and I should apologize a little bit because I haven't prepared as much of the background and the nitty-gritty details of role-playing games that some of you might need, because I'm at the level of my life where I've talked plenty about what role-playing games are and how you play them, and now I'd like to take this the step further. Hopefully you can follow along, otherwise we'll just take all the questions afterwards. I will talk about this for days. I will kill you with it if I have to. I will also say something about myself because I like myself. My name is Anders Damkjær Nielsen. The Damkjær is marked because it was wrong in the invitation. Just if you want to find me, that's my actual name. I'm educated in these here very halls, former mediology student. And I'm here because I have a lot of hours of GMing. The number's there and it's real. I have a map that says all the hours and in the what systems. And I'm what you would call an improvisation specialist. I've never run a scripted adventure, not once in my life. I've done all of them myself and I've done them on the fly. Right now I'm developing secrets for Time Story VR. Technically they're not all secret, but you're going to have to talk to my boss about that. Today I've got two topics kind of prepared for you. First, there's a little bit about role-playing games, and then we'll go into something I call the magnifying glass and the forest, and then into something called metamechanics. The first one's technically a metamechanic as well, but we'll get into that. First thing is that I see role-playing games as basically the ideal of adaptive story worlds. There is no story world currently that can do what a game master can do for you in storytelling. Having this person on the other side that can basically respond to anything in almost real time is the closest you can currently get. When I say almost real time, it's because role-playing games are not real time, they're speech-paced, because they're description-paced. When I say Anders points his hand at the audience and does a approving gesture, it's not the same speed as doing this. There's a slight difference, but we'll just call it real time for the sake of simplicity. Then on to the magnifying glass and the forest. The magnifying glass and the forest will start in the forest, which is actually, for those of you who were here earlier today, this is amazing because Henrik showed us all these pictures and then he was like, what do you see here? And what do you see here? And this is one of these pictures. What do you see here? What stories do you see? Often story worlds are just like the question we just had, the comment described in this stasis, this without stories, this whole, like it can have a story, but it doesn't have one yet. It's a completed whole, it's actually more of a setting, it's kind of a God's perspective. You can kind of see all of it. It's an image of something that can be, but it might not yet have any stories. It's actually not really a story world yet, it's just a setting. Then you apply your magnifying glass. You control the focus. This is the mistake of all game masters when they first start out and when they at some point go, oh no, my party needs to travel through the forest and I don't know how I'm going to make it interesting. You need to lower the magnifying glass. The magnifying glass, as I will explain in a moment, can be raised very high or lowered to the most minor of details. This is essentially what defines what your players see, what they do, the pacing, the themes, the play style, everything. And it's the same in digital media. The magnifying glass is your tool, and as a game master, it actually basically means we don't have to build the rest of the world. Because if we don't show the players the stuff outside of what we're focusing on, then they don't need to know it. That's at least my philosophy, because again, I'm from the improvisation school, so I'm a lazy bastard, is what I'm saying. If I don't have to do it, I don't do it. I have an example here. I've currently been running a game. I've been running it for 2 months. We're almost at 80 hours, which is outrageous for this playtime. Got 5 to 6 players, and at the bottom here you see a small chain of basically layers. These are layers that I work my players on. These are layers in which they can interact that I'll show them while we're playing, and then they'll do stuff. We'll jump to the next slide, and we'll see them as they are actually scaled. In the background, the one called Marken's Tomb and Dust Devil, we have the star system. This is a space game, so obviously we got, well, planets. When they're in this layer, when the magnifying glass is all the way out, we're talking fuel, we're talking space travel, we're talking expectations. We're not talking in character. Nobody's using their in character voice. Everyone's talking I think we should not go to the place called the Damned Abyss because that sounds awful. But they're not saying it in character. Then on Dust Devil, we got the second map here, the one with all the tiny cities, where I've purely marked the cities to give players places they want to go explore. It's basically when you're in a video game and you see something on the horizon. You want to go there, but in my case, there's nothing under it yet. The one called Undertown up there is perfectly blank. It's absolutely nothing. Until they get there, until my magnifying glass goes over there, it's absolutely nothing. Completely blank. Except for the name, which I just threw on, because that'll give me enough of a prompt to make something at some point. Then the next layer we move into is the actual action layer. This is the one where players spend most of their time. It's the one they know the best. It's the one where they have all these beautiful tokens with names. They can move around. They can be hit by a flamethrower, as in this beautiful case. Then there is actually another layer that I can't show you here, because it can't really be shown geographically, at least. It's the interpersonal layer. It's one that I don't really act on, but between players, when they talk, they have a layer there. When they talk in character, they have a layer they can act on. And then beneath that, we have the character layer. This is just a little slip from like a character sheet. There's some data about a character called Anya. I can work on this one as well. I can go in on a character sheet and I can go, Anya lost her dad. She's never known her when she was young. I can use this to torment her. And my player can come up to me afterwards and say, you're a bastard. And I can go, yes, I know. That was one example of a meta mechanic, because these layers and moving my players around on them is technically, I mean, their characters stay the same physical space, but you probably get the point. A meta mechanic is a mechanic that exists only for the player, never for the character. It has no representation for the character. It doesn't make sense for the character usually. One example being the fate points in the Warhammer D100 systems. A fate point is essentially a point that says, when your character got that arrow straight through the head, you survived. Why? Because the game master pulled it out of you, closed the hold, went back in time and said, no, you didn't die because I need you to be alive. It never happened, it was undone. Meta mechanics basically break the immersion for the sake of doing something we can't do in game without breaking the setting. This is something I think we could do more in the digital setting. I think we could do it more in games, and I think we could do it more in this new media we're trying to create. One way of doing this, that not many GMs do, but we do it sometimes, is tell us something about. We ask the player to tell us something about something that's not their character. Something that they don't, actually, something they shouldn't have control of. We ask them, what is the wizard wearing? But I don't know. No, I know you don't know. That's why I want you to tell me. Because I'm improvising, so you should improvise. We're all building this together. I'm not building this, we're building this. This is a team exercise. We can build it together, and you can take around the table and then ask everyone in turn. Demeanor, appearance, what do they want with you? Do you have a relation with them? I love character relations. I love going like, as you enter the inn, who do you know? Because obviously you know someone. You've lived in the village your whole life. I mean, you get to know people. The second, which is far more used, tell us how you do this. That's about, giving the players an opportunity to set the feel and the mood by asking, how does your player do whatever the thing is you're doing? There's a vast difference between doing the stealthy spy, opening a window with a tool and just bashing it, the curse word in. We do this a lot because the second one doesn't change our story if we're like really protective of it. The first one can really upset everything. Absolutely everything. It's like, what's the wizard wearing? And then the player goes, nothing. Okay, I can work with that, but okay. So basically, we already do it, but we're not perfectly aware of it. In real-time strategy games, when you choose opponents, sometimes you can choose these like named characters. Sometimes you can choose their starting locations or you can choose difficulty, but you always do it before the game starts. And I'm questioning why. Because when I'm GMing, I don't do it before game, I do it during game. I break their immersion for the sake of giving them creativity that they would not otherwise have. And I think we should start doing that as well. The same goes for RPG games. Occasionally when you meet a new character, I think the game should just grab you, take you to the side and go, I know, I'm sorry, breaking your immersion. But would your character that has a background and an assassin in this guild know this character, yes or no? Because that's a way to avoid the situation where you have to script all of those weird, were you or were you not an assassin in the guild and or also the mage master of the thing. You can just ask the player, it's fine. He'll get over it, and you'll get a lot of possibilities based on player choice and players' love choice. And basically the last part there was only if I was going over time, and I have no idea if I am. Yeah, I am by 30 seconds, sorry. Basically my 3 steps to improvisation, I will take them anyway because I'm a sly dog. Have prompts. These guys, these are my random tokens, always have something. You just need something to improv. Use details, just narrow, small things you recognize in real life. Pimples on the face, doesn't matter, just put stuff in there. Blue eyes, doesn't matter. And keep talking. Never shut up. Never, not even once in your life, for a moment, be silent. As long as you're talking, your players aren't thinking. Hopefully. And that's that. Thanks for listening.